Brother Marky Mark. Hey guys, we're just waiting for John. I know he's about to log in any moment now. As soon as he gets logged in, we'll get started. Shout out to my brother Marky Mark, one half of the Wise Guys here, live with us. About to get this started. Hold on. How's everybody doing? How's your week been? I hope everybody had a great week. So tonight we'll be talking people of color and mental health. So mental health in POC culture and how taboo mental health is. There's my brother right there. So I'm about to get him on. Just give me a sec. Mr. Alworthy, how you doing, my brother?
What up, my guy?
I'm doing good, man. Good to see you on this Friday night.
Yo, good to see you right back, brother. It's always a pleasure to chat it up with you, man.
For sure, man. I'm so excited for this. It's going to be really fun. First thing first, before we get started, I just wanted you to know we're going to repurpose this and put this on our YouTube, and as well as repurpose it for the Wise Guys podcast as audio. Is that cool?
That's perfectly fine with me.
Oh, man, I love it. All right, cool. Sounds good. So I'm just going to do our little intro. We'll get right into it, all right?
Cool.
All right. Yo. What's going on? This is your boy, Kevin McLeod, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Wise Guys Live podcast, and as well as, just the IG Live session as well. Shout out, first and foremost, I want to just say shout out to my brother, Mark Pruden, one half of the Wise Guys, our co-host. He is tuning in tonight here on this platform on Instagram. And so Wise community, first thing first, this is live right now. If you're hearing this, this is live on IG. So by the time you hear this, it'll already become to pass. But at the same time as well, on top of it being live on IG, it will also be repurposed, again, as I said, as an audio format of the podcast. It will be a bonus episode, I think, for the week of episode 42, all right? For episode 42. So with that being said, let's get right into it. I want to welcome tonight's special guest, a very good dear friend of mine, someone who I looked up to, saw as a big brother and a mentor when I was attending Brooklyn College. He was already on episode 17. Yes, season 1, episode 17 of the podcast with me and Mark. More Than Athletes. We talked a lot about athletes and sport politics. But tonight, we will be talking about mental health because my brother here is into mental health over at his job. And I'm going to allow him to speak a little bit more into that. But without further ado, I've been rambling too much. Please, Wise community, welcome tonight onto the Wise Guys podcast and as well as this live IG session, my brother, the one and only Jon McLeod. John, welcome onto the show today, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's a blessing to be here. And shout out to my guy, Mark. Good to see you, brother. You on there? See my boy Ben from work is on here too. Appreciate y'all.
Shout out to all of y'all. Glad they are on, for sure. First thing foremost, John, before we get started, I wanted to send my regards and send my blessings your way. I know you just recently had a baby girl. She is so beautiful. She's so adorable. How's fatherhood a second time around, my brother?
It is fantastic. She's 8 months now, and she's moving at the speed of light. I thought my son was fast, and I thought that, I was doing pretty well, but she's another monster, her little stuff. She's so adorable. She drives me crazy, but my favorite thing about her, she wakes up every single day with a huge smile the second she sees me. So I love it so much. She makes me smile. I'm happy, and I love my little boy too. Like we go to bed, we have this ritual, and we're watching some kind of show. Each of us, that's what we do. And then he does this every night. He look over to me just to make sure I'm good. and then he go right back to his show. So it's like his show. It's awesome. So
I
fatherhood is
love it.
wouldn't trade it for
That,
anything.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Oh man. And you already know, like I told you, when I line everything up with, getting married, having a kid, I'm gonna be coming to you with questions. I'm gonna hold you to that. All right.
Back, always did, always will. Got your back.
100%, 100%. My brother Mark, I know you're on here tonight, bro. So, if me and John are into it, I'll definitely be sure that John and myself answers questions, or I'll direct some of those questions to John. We'll open up the floor. But Mark, if there's any question that comes up that you think you can answer, my brother, could you please be sure to answer as well? Because I know you're here moderating the chat session tonight. Thank you. Please and thank you, brother, if possible. So John, like I told you before, man, tonight we're talking about mental health. Mental health is a serious issue that we as young Black men, young Black women, just young people of color, no matter what ethnicity or race you are, we suffer, we deal with, and the whole world in its entirety. But I really think that this is a pertinent point of conversation tonight that needed to be had, and I kind of wanted to get right into it, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so first thing first, this first segment of today's IG Live / bonus episode is called Diagnosis. And I wanted to read this quote to you. So this is from the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So it says here, I feel comfortable talking with close friends, family, and community members, as well as loved ones about my health, right? 40.67% of those who identified as white answered with strongly agree or agree, compared with 12.5% of those who identified as African American and Black. So with this being said, John, I wanted to pose this question, and knowing that you're starting to dabble into this, in regards to what you do, and please provide as much background information as you possibly can. The question I wanted to ask you is, why does the African American, Hispanic, and Asian community struggle with this matter? Why do they struggle with voicing their thoughts and their concerns in regards to mental health, especially when it's something that they probably never encountered before in their family, in their lives?
Well, one of the things I like to first point out is every situation is completely different, and everyone's approach is completely different. One of the things that's also important to remember is that what we're discussing is the stereotype as to why the percentage is actually so low. And the reason is because there is a belief that there's a stigma, like we like to say, that is out there that says you are seen as weak or inferior if you voice your opinions or say that you need help mentally. And that is the thing that is, I believe, in my personal opinion, that's destroying the communities, is because there is a lack of willingness to have the conversation externally. They'll have it internally, and they know they need help, and they want to. But if you're seen as weak, if you're seen as too vulnerable, people make fun of. So let's talk about guys. People make fun of guys back in the, well, I don't make fun of anybody, but I'm saying in reference to how I grew up, you would be made fun of if you cried for something, or unless it was somebody had to die for you to shed tears, or you weren't strong. And that's the thing. But it doesn't have to be that way in order for you to get a mental breakthrough. And because that percentage is so low, it's because there's a stigma that says that if you have those kind of feelings, you're either crazy or you're too weak. And we take those things and we bottle those things up, and we never actually deal with them. And then disease starts to happen. And then we destroy ourselves from the inside out, when all we had to do was have a conversation. So, and just to give everybody a quick background, I started with a partner of mine, a coworker. Her name is Melissa Rollins. We started ESPN Trust. And it's the first ever mental health initiative, affinity group that is a resource to all employees across in the entire ESPN family. We focus on mental health. Our focus is mental health, and started the conversation with our colleagues and with bosses and their employees, and just making sure that it's okay everybody understands that it's okay to not be okay. That's a very big thing for us. We say all the time, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need a break, to need a mental break, to need some time, some space away. We understand that we're not machines. We can't just keep going. We understand that we're affected by things. And the big thing is, it's okay to have a conversation and say, look, I am not okay today. There are things happening. Even if you're not ready to go into it, it's okay to be off your game. If we live in a society, especially the sports world, you always have to be on your game. You always have to be top notch because there's always that level of competition that says, you always see the meme, you know, while you sleep, I work. And it's something that is a fantastic thing in some perspective, but in another perspective, it's destroying the entire community because we never give ourselves that chance to rest. So what we opened up to the ESPN community was the chance to have the conversation, the chance to access the resource that ESPN actually has for employees, and then the opportunity to just make the workplace a better place by simply having a conversation about things that you're dealing with and making it an open space so that employees feel comfortable to say, you know what, look, here's what I'm dealing with. You know, I may need help because we go through different things, whether we're at work or whether we're at home. At some point in time, we're affected mentally, and that's the most important thing. We can't bring our best selves to work if we're not dealing with the thoughts and the things that are going on upstairs. So that's a little bit of background on me. And that was my point, just to tie it back in. I think that's why the numbers are so low, is because there's a mentality of weakness, a stigma that says you're weak if you have these kind of feelings or if you think this way. And if you voice it, you're even weaker, or you're whining, or you're complaining. Suck it up, tough it up. Like, it's not that bad. And you start to believe what you hear. So if you start to believe like, oh, it's not that bad, when in reality it's 10 times worse, then you start to look at other ways and devices in order to try to fix something that is happening internally and mentally. But if you had a conversation, it might have been easier to do so.
Absolutely. No, I think you bring up very pertinent points. I wanted to ask you about this because you bring a lot into the conversation when you talk about the initiative you and your partner started at ESPN, and how imperative it is for all employees to have this the adequate access necessary for mental health services, counseling, and for that additional support. I wonder, what do you think about this? I wonder if we as a culture can articulate or voice that there is the potential or possibilities of inequities for people of color within the workplace when you think of mental health, because it almost seems as if we're under more duress and pressure to perform. It almost seems as if we're expected to perform, and our chance at, making mistakes and, not getting things right at the first try are minimal. Like it's almost as if we're not allowed to fail. And that in itself can affect our mental health, and we can be subjected to putting ourselves under unrealistic expectations and pressures that we've never dealt with before. I wonder what your thoughts are about that.
That's a very interesting concept. And the reason why is because I've seen it firsthand. I've dealt with it firsthand myself. And I've seen people that I still talk. It's crazy. Talking with somebody the other week that was dealing with some form of what you're speaking about. And again, and it goes right back to having a conversation. Oftentimes we tell ourselves things before other people tell us things. For example, I was raised as a black man to say, look, when you go outside, you make sure you have manners. You make sure if you ever deal with these kind of people, you do X, Y, Z. If a cop pulls you over, you do X, Y, Z. If you get into the altercation, you do X, Y, Z. And I'm not sure I don't know about any other race that had to do what I had to do as a kid, but those pep talks prep you for how you deal with certain things in the workplace. Because now because in my head, I'm subconsciously saying, okay, I make sure I cannot act like that when I get, or I can't make a mistake twice, like you were saying, because then I'm going to be seen as incompetent. and they're going to pass my job, or they're going to pass my, my tasks to someone else. But the solution is what I focus on the most. And the thing that is most important is that we have to realize is I'm a big, huge, massive cheerleader for failure. And when I say that to people, it's taken in mixed emotions. I'm okay with doing something, giving it your absolute best. And if you fail, then, what did you learn from it? I believe in failure as a tool, never failure as a stopping point. That whole dialect in your question comes with this understanding that we have to accept the pressure. I say it's okay to accept the pressure, but it's another thing to allow the pressure to change the way you think. If you change let me go into that for a quick second. Mm-hmm. Changing the way you think is pertinent for your success. There's things that are going to happen over and over again. They are people with ideologies in which you can't control. And my opinion is there are so many things that are out of your control, and we spend so much time focusing on those things because they intangibly touch us that we miss the opportunity to take control of the things we can take control of. See, I can't do anything about the way you think about me, but I can do something about the way others think about me. And in time, you may possibly change the way you think about me. I can't do anything about what you said about me. I can correct it with my own words. I can correct it with my own actions, but I can't do anything about the ideology that you created. And a lot of times we get caught up. We get caught up in the ideology of somebody's opinion or a group of people's opinion, and we let that ideology form what we do. And that is one of the most dangerous things in our society. We look at the numbers, we look at what people have said, or here's the reason why things are falling apart, and then we believe it and we put those things into action. I am the proponent. I'm the person that says, well, okay, that is your opinion. I don't have that experience. Or even if I had that experience, I say, okay, similarly, I see what you're saying, but I believe this. Or like I choose not to accept things. I'm not going to accept. And I make sure I made a pact with myself and my wife to make sure our kids understand this. We don't have to accept any stereotype that anybody put on us. Mm-hmm. I've gone to certain places in my life that God has taken me to. And I said, a guy that grew up in the hood of Brooklyn, I'm telling you right now, people look back. I've seen so many friends that I used to play ball with all the time, and they're in the same spot. Yeah. And I said, what's the difference? I love them. I love those people. The question is, what's the difference between what I did and what they did? It's a decision. Mm. That's the difference. It was a decision. It wasn't that they were incapable. Yeah. But sometimes when we hear other people talk, we think we believe what they say. And we believe that life is going to be in this microcosm of the opinion of that one person that hits you in your heart, that hits you in your brain, that said, no, you can only do this. Or say, here's an example of people that look like you that did this and was successful, when in fact there's more than one way to be successful. And that's the ability of positive mental health.
That's a fact. You know what? It's interesting you said that, John, because me being an educator, a teacher, and a mentor. I'm a rehab therapist at a residential facility for teenage boys. It's so interesting that you said everything you said about how you grew up in your neighborhood, and and you take a second to evaluate your own circumstances at this current point in time, as opposed to that of your friends or your homies that you grew up with. Because I think about my boys, whether as a teacher or even now as a rehab therapist, and I think about them. And one thing I constantly always tell myself is that I need to be speaking life into them at every single possible moment. Speaking life to you can be life-changing and life-altering, especially for a young boy who may have never had his father, his uncles, or any type of male figure in their lives. For example, we just had a boy who was here at the program with us for 4 months, a juvenile offender. He did some things that obviously he wasn't proud of, his family wasn't proud of. He went to detention for about, I think, a good 2-3 years. And then he came here to our residential halfway house facility, which is a step down and a more calmer environment for about 4 months. And, as he was being discharged, I think it was Wednesday, I came to work 20 minutes early because I had to see him before he left. So just as I came in, I pulled him aside and, I kind of did like, what LeBron usually does to like the young rookies coming in the league, like at the end of the game where he pulls them aside and he pokes at their chest and he speaks life.
Yeah.
That same thing. I was like, yo, you're great. You are great. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be issues. There's going to be hurdles along the way. And people will try to reel you back into that atmosphere of negativity. But I've seen what you're capable of here. Don't let anybody stop you from your purpose, from your destiny, and to your God-given talent that God has provided for you. So be great. I'm always here for you. And if you need me, I'm always one call away, and that I love you. Because a lot of the times these young men, they don't hear that. They don't know what it's like to be loved from a male that they look up to. So when you say that, like, they truly take it, they appreciate it, and they soak it up. Like, I'm looking at this kid, and he's, like, while he was here, he was boastful. He was he plays ball too. So sometimes me and him, we go at it on the court, or when we play ball, he's like a little man. He's like, nah, Kev, catch it in your chest, yo. When you box out, put it up strong, all this type of stuff. And I'm speaking to him, and he's like a little boy, with sad puppy eyes, listening to everything I'm saying. And I'm just like, what? It's because what I'm saying to him right now, he needs it. He needed to hear that. He's about to go home. He doesn't know what he's about to go back into. Maybe me saying that can help him in a way in which, like, he probably wouldn't have had the tools necessary before to maneuver. So speaking life is very important. And that goes for our friends too.
No, like, first of all, I had the pleasure of watching you do that as a teacher. And when I say, and it's one of the things I will never forget, because I watch you go from a teacher to a basketball coach, and now you're doing counsel. That what you've done physically, actually done, is, and what you're saying is based on what you've done, is exactly what we need to continue to do. You want to know why the numbers are so low? It's because what young black men are taught is love, is toughness, tough love. And for the longest time, when I grew up, one of my friends, his dad would say, "The streets don't love you." Mm-hmm. That he said, "Oh, you think you're tough, but the streets don't love you." And he was somebody who was an ex-con that came home, and he was working his life. He wasn't a janitor. I forget what he was, but he would always, and my boy wouldn't listen, but I heard him. And he would say things like, based on his experience, to say, look, you don't even need to live that life because that life has no promise for you. And to the notion of what you were saying about speaking life, I can't tell you how many times I believe in that so much, because there's so many, we're taught, let's be real for a second here. We're taught that white parents teach their kids that, look, hey, you can be anything you want. And we used to laugh at that as when we were growing up, because it was just like cracking jokes at it. But the truth of the matter is, it's not a white thing or a black thing. It's a life thing. It's not white or black. It's a life thing. You can be whatever you want to be.
Right.
If you just decide. If you just make the decision. It's not about anybody else's opinion. It's not your mama's dream. It's your dream. It's not your daddy's wishes. They're your wishes. You can do whatever you want to do if you go after it yourself. And the thing is, there's some societies, lower income societies, have been taught there's only a few ways out. I either shoot this ball, or sing this song, or rap these lyrics, or I gangbang, or rob somebody, or go to a better neighborhood and take what they have, instead of doing what the better neighborhood did, which is work their butt off to go and get that.
Right.
But look, but we use the anger that our society has thrown at us as an excuse to make bad decisions. And the most important thing is, you can choose to make great decisions in your life. But the great decisions don't always come with the instant gratitude.
That's true.
And that's the thing. We're waiting for instant gratitude. Oh, you expect me to go to college? I'm not saying go to college. Bill Gates doesn't have a degree. The richest people in the world don't have degrees. What I'm telling you is, go find something that you are passionate about, that you can help change the world. Go find something that you can transform somebody's life with, big or small, and devote every fiber of your being to that very thing. And when you look back over the years, you will realize that all of it was worth it. Because you didn't waste time worrying about what people said, worrying about the stereotypes, listening to the stigmas, acting on the stigmas, listening to the haters and what they had to say. The reason why they're haters is because they hate to see you succeed. But we waste so much time listening to them. By the time we get ready to do our thing, we don't have enough. Why? Because we didn't spend that time. What are you doing with your time is the question I ask people. People ask me all the time, like, yo, bro, help me get a job at ESPN. For what? Like, why? What are you going to do with it? What do you want to be there? Just to say you were there?
Yeah.
Let me explain something I haven't explained to a lot of people. I've been telling people I was going to get to ESPN since I was 6 years old. And I will play ball every single shot. Until they used to call me Sports Center, because that's what I used to say.
I remember you doing a little bit of that at Rec at BC too. Facts. I'm a witness.
And I'm telling you, because I'm in my head, one way, shape, or form, if God says yes to what I'm asking, I'm going to have it.
Amen.
So now, what happened was, I had to go through hell and high water. I went through depression. I went through anger outbursts. I lost it. There was a point where I was talking to God, and I told my dad, I broke down, and I told my dad, I said, hey, look, I feel like I'm talking to God and I'm not hearing anything. Come back. Right. I went through grad school, 5 classes, a job, working for the New York Times, interviewing LeBron James, and I was still very much self-conscious and insecure about my abilities. Because I was listening to certain people with authority tell me that, well, you don't do this well, and you don't do that well, and you don't do that well. And out loud, I would say, well, I'm going to do better anyway. But inside, I was feeling pain. In my mind, I was saying, John, it's not good enough. You got to do it better. Until I lost who I was. And I lost my identity, because at a certain point, one professor who we never were a fan of each other. But the smartest thing she ever said to me at Brooklyn College, smartest thing she ever said to me was, at some point, you're going to have to say, no, this is who I am. This is how I do it. Take it or leave it. She said, you can't keep switching because somebody says they doesn't like. And I said to her, you're the one holding my grade. I just want to do what I have to do to get the highest grade possible. And she was like, that's not the point of the program. So I said, you explain to me I was in grad school. I said, you explain to me what the point of the program is. I said, because I'm working my butt off and I don't get it. Keep in mind, it was 12 people to start. I was number 13 in grad school. I never got an acceptance letter.
Wow.
Honest, true story. I never got an acceptance letter. Wow. I went after it 3 times, and I got denied 3 times. I went home. This is a very true story. I swear to you. I went home, and I told my mother, I said, Ma, they told me no again. She said, get out the house. Do not come back until you are a grad student. And I got so upset. I said, Ma, you act like I'm not trying. They said no. What do you want me to do? She said, I don't care what you have to do. Do not come back. I'm telling you, don't come back. And you know when black mothers tell you don't come back, if you do come back without what she asked for, you're going to be in some serious trouble. So I said, okay. I showed up in the class. I literally walked into class, first day of class. I wasn't even a student. I walked in and I sat down and I just sat and listened to the entire class. And she looked at me. The professor looked at me. Didn't even know that she was the deputy chairman. She looks at me and she goes, huh. Teaches the whole class, gets to the end of the class, and then she says to me, you're not going to go away. I said, I'm sorry, I can't. I can't go home. Whatever I have to do, I will show up every single day. I will take every test. This, honest to God, is exactly what I told her. God is my witness. I said, I will take every test. I will do every essay. I will shoot everything. And then I don't care what it is. I just have to. I cannot go home. She looked at me. She stared at me. She said, you better not waste my time. And she walked me all the way across campus into West Quad.
Yeah, to registrar.
And she walked me into the back and she said, look, I need you to print an acceptance letter.
Wow.
And she was like, look, don't embarrass me. Went through grad school, lost my mind, lost all of that, went hard. 12 started. I was 13. 3 people walked.
Wow.
Half of them just cut it off and said, look, I can't do it. This is too hard. 3 people walked. 3. And I was one of the 3. Remember, I wasn't the guy that got an acceptance letter.
Yeah.
I never technically got in.
Right.
But I finished.
Wow.
And that's the point that I was telling, is that it's so important to make a decision on your life and what you want to do. Forget about what people's opinions are on what you should do. It doesn't matter what they think about what you should do. That's the thing that kills our mental health.
Yep.
It's because half of it is spent doing what we think other people would like.
That's accurate. Mm-hmm.
And we spend so much time there that when we finally pick our head up and we realize that, look, I don't really care about what anybody else thinks. You wasted 30 years. Mm-hmm. And not to say that you can't do what you wanted to do, but think about what you can do when you maximize the time by not caring about the opinions of people that actually don't want to see you succeed. They just want to make sure you stay here long enough so they feel great about themselves.
That's a bar.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, facts.
And then guess what? When I was in grad school, I got all the way to the end and I walked on all of that. And guess what? I went without a job for over 7 months.
Talk about it.
Yeah, because remember, once you get degrees, you're supposed to get a job. Mm-hmm. They said you get a job if you had 2 degrees. Who's not going to hire somebody with a master's degree? They must be crazy not to do that. But guess what? The matter is, I went from interviewing LeBron James, running behind Darren Williams, having conversations with Jared Collins and with Jason Kidd and all these people and all these MLB, NFL, all these things, and I was jobless. Had a reel and was jobless. Everybody on the team and then during that time, I should say, I found one of my mentors, one of the greatest writers of our time, my guy Bill Rhoden. I'm forever indebted to, because the story of how I got to ESPN is because of him.
Wow.
We did stories for him for the New York Times, and then when it was over, he says to me, everybody had got a job. One of my guys went to Pittsburgh. I forgot where he was working for. It was for a team, one Pittsburgh team. Another person went to Los Angeles, and everybody else had a job, and I was jobless. And I was searching every single day. And he was interviewing the former president of the company, John Skipper. And he said, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, I'm not just doing the same thing, looking for a job. He said, I want you to wear a suit and meet me at the Marriott in Manhattan. Send me the address or whatever. He said, just show up and meet me there. It was the NAMIC conference, and I didn't have a credential. I didn't have a pass or anything like that. I was hiding in the bathroom, and I went through the first door that I saw, and he happened to be sitting in the back. That had to be God, because I didn't know where I was going. And he showed up, and he says, he interviews John Skipper, and then he introduces me to my boss now, who later on ended up giving me the job, and say, look, we got to have you here. We just don't have anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that. I took a promise that God made me. He promised me that would be great, and I held on to it. And the thing is, it's so important to hold on to every bit of encouragement. See how you gave that young guy encouragement?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to hold on to that for the rest of his life.
Right.
Or for as long as he can, because life is going to throw things at him, and he's going to hear, okay, I'm somebody. I have capabilities. I can do something. I can do this. And it may get tough, and the voice may end up being faint after he gets hit over and over and over again, but it won't go away because he believed and said to him, guys, I appreciate, you can do this. So it's just one of those things where we have to constantly shape the way we think. We have to constantly do that.
I'm 1000% in alignment with what you just said. Everything you just said. I think, and obviously you spoke to this, right? I think, and I'm not even talking about people of color, and I'm just talking about us holistically as a society. I think people often tend to halt themselves from success when they take a punch in the face. They get a gut punch, they get punched in the face 1 or 2 times. And me and Mark, this is all the podcast is about. We talk about this all the time. When you lose, it's supposed to be a lesson. It shouldn't be an embarrassment. It shouldn't be a put down. It is a lesson for what you've experienced and how do you move forward with the losses that you've experienced, and you learn from it, so that way you don't repeat the same steps again, right? I think oftentimes as a society, that kid who didn't who thought he was going to be a rock star out of college, and was a broadcast journalism major, and did the things you did, and maybe he wanted to be more on the reporting side, although I know you did reporting too, myself as well, shout out to the Kingsman. But what I'm saying? You went and you did that, and you had so many chances to cover high profile athletes. You had so many stories, so many highlights, so many clips, and you added that to your portfolio, that when you don't get that illustrious job you're looking for upon graduation, upon going to commencement, that might shatter you as a young 22, 23-year-old male or female graduating from college. You bank it that everything is riding on you completing college, and maybe your first gen, second gen college student, and you might not have the connections or the network, right? And so you think that everything's done. To this day, John, I know people who graduated with their bachelor's or their master's, and they think that they're done. They think that they're done, and they never continued, and they allowed that to eat at their mental health. And I say that to say, myself included, I remember when I graduated from Brooklyn College in 2014 with my bachelor's, and I thought I was going to work in publishing as an editorial assistant, because I'm a huge literature, huge book fanatic. I love books. Books are my life. Books are my passion, right? So when I did an internship at 2 major publishers, one being Macmillan and the other one being Random House. After I didn't get a job, I was crushed. I was like, oh my gosh, why did I do all this time, doing internships, all this stuff? My grades were stellar, and I don't have anything to show for it. I actually had to go back to Queensboro, where I initially started prior to going to Brooklyn, and I got my associate's degree and worked there as a college assistant. When I say to you, my brother, that was the most humbling experience of my life, because it felt as if I did a 360 and I was back at square one. But you know what's so crazy, my brother? Around that time, I told myself, you know what? I guess this is all I'm good for. I guess this is all I'm going to be. I'm just going to stay here. But I felt as if God was telling me, no, just be patient, my son. There's so much more in store for you. Just be patient and hold on to the course. And as I continued to work there, even though I worked there for 3 years, I would say, I felt as if God just bing, put a light in my head. Go to school, go back to grad school, get a master's. And I'm like, God, I don't know. But you know what? You telling me this? I'm getting dreams of filling out an application. I'm going to do it. I applied. I got in. I'm like, okay, God, I'm doing this. What's next? And, years are passing. Now I'm on year 3, and I'm like, dang it, man, I'm still here, at this college at Queensboro, and all my, I'm not competitors, but all my peers are, working at Morgan Stanley. They're a financial analyst here, working at, Wells Fargo, all these, great lofty positions. I'm like, man, I got to stay off social media, man, because this is really playing to my mental health. And we're going to get on that, social media and mental health. But like all of these different things, right? And I remember just about getting my master's, like I was like a couple months off. I applied for Teach for America. I said, man, I got to get out of here because it doesn't look like things are happening for me in New York City. So I applied for Teach for America. I got in. And I remember my mentor. She worked at Queensborough with me. She was a professor in the speech communications department, a black woman, and she took me in as her son, you know, and as a mentee, and she helped mold me, and she kept pushing me. Like she didn't want to see me stay at that spot. So the same way I spoke life to that kid, she spoke life to me. She knew that that wasn't all I was meant to do, you know. And she was a Christian too, so. And a believer. So she obviously, we built a great, strong relationship due to our shared connection of belief and spirituality. And I remember she told me, like, I'm going to coach you. I'm also a speech coach too. I'm going to coach you to make sure that when you go for your interview, you will do well and you will succeed. And I remember, John, I went to my interview for Teach for America. I thought I nailed it, but I wasn't sure. And then maybe 3 days later, I got an email saying that I got accepted. My brother, I was in the QCC gym getting ready to put on my shirt and my shorts to go hit the basketball court and go ball out at rec. John, when I tell you, like, I cried, and she was on the phone with me, and I told her what it was, and I just cried tears of joy because all the suffering and pain that I went through, not having a job, taking the bus, taking 2 buses a day to go to work, in the freezing cold sometimes. Sometimes I would leave work 8 o'clock at night and would just freeze, just waiting to get home. I didn't have a car. But like God just said, I felt as if God was saying, just be patient. And one thing he does is that when you're patient, he rewards your patience. Patience is a virtue within. When you're patient, he rewards that. And so I remember just bawling uncontrollably because I knew at that point I had gotten what it was that I had worked for. And instantly after that, my life had changed, brother. But I say all that to say a lot of people, for some reason, it seems as if like they just can't see the end goal in sight after they get that first blow. And it becomes a snowball effect as it affects their mental health. What do you think?
I think you said something so phenomenal you explained something so phenomenal. You went through it all. You went through all of it. And that's the thing is, a lot of people, they don't want to go through it. They want the end product. They want the championship. They don't want the training. Right. They want the promotion. They don't want the responsibility. Mm-hmm. They'll take the money, but they don't want the work. And I fell in love a long time ago with the process. And if you want to be successful, fall in love with God's process. Because that teaches you patience, humility, focus, consistency, and structure. Guess what? You're talking to somebody who did not jump on God's process first. I'm the type, I see it. If I visualize it, I can make it happen. And I go after it, and I devote myself into it, and I stick on it, and I keep going over and over and over and over again. And God had to pull me back and tell me, look, here's a better way. If you just shut up and listen to what I'm showing you, then your life will be set up. Mm-hmm. So once I said, when you said, God was preparing you for what you were doing, you went through it. It was so important for you to go through that because now you understand the weight of your current position. Mm-hmm. If he gave you what you asked for when you asked for it, you would lose it. And a lot of times we don't get what we pray for, what we ask for, or what we work hard for immediately, simply because we are not capable of holding it yet. Everybody want to bench 315, but you can't get 315 off the rack. So you have to build up to 315. Yeah. I mean, calisthenics, I still haven't got my first 100 clip of push-ups, but I'm at 60, and I'm like, look, I was at 30 a while ago. Mm-hmm. I was at 20. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was at 10. And the thing is, fall in love with the process. If you want to be successful, fall in love with the process of the very thing that you want to do in a life and spend your life focused on being great at that. Don't spend your time focusing on the things that you think will make other people think that you're great. It's not like all that glitters is not gold. So it's like that mentality of, well, I know we're going to talk about social media soon, but that mentality of, oh, I see this person was successful doing this, I think I could do that. No, I'm a firm believer in do what you are great. I have a rule. I don't dive into something that I'm not great at doing. Because why waste my time trying to be someone else or trying to do something else when I'm not, it's just not who I am. It's not what I do. And I used to try to mimic this person or mimic that person. Oh, I could do that. Or that looks easy. And you waste so much time. No, spend your time. God gave you 24 hours in a day. And 8 of those hours you're supposed to be sleeping. So we got 16 left to make a decision. 12, to be honest. So what are you going to do with the 12 hours that you have? Are you going to spend your time complaining about your current situation? Are you going to spend your time worrying about the next hit that could hurt? I used to box, and one of the things that my trainer used to tell me was the same line that Mike Tyson would say. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
True.
And my trainer used to say, what are you going to do after you get punched in the face? And I was like, well, I'm not going to get punched in the face. And he'd say, everybody gets punched in the face, John. Everybody gets punched in the face. Some people get knocked out. Some people get knocked down. And some people punch back. He said, I only have one rule for you. You can't do the first two. You can only do the last one. And I took that and said, look, no matter what it is, I'm swinging back. You know the hood where I grew up in. Like, yeah. You've seen it.
Yeah.
So it's like there is no all right, no, I'm just not gonna take the hits. No, it's either you swing back or you keep getting hit. Yeah. So it is the same mentality. Swing back. Mm. And we get so caught up on how bad that hit hurts, you don't even realize you're still getting hit.
Yeah.
People get hit so hard sometimes they don't even realize that the thing that's hitting them, because you're thinking about it, because you internalize it, you're still getting hit. Mm-hmm. The best way to stop a fight or to stall it is to hit back. A lot of people curl up and they hold it in tight to, like, you know what? It'll be over soon. It'll be over soon. And it's never over. You know why? Because by the time it stops, you realize that, well, I could have ended this a while ago by just swinging back or just getting back up and trying again. Yeah. I prep for the punch in the face. I don't prep to have my hand raised. So prep for the punch. Prepare for it's coming. It's inevitable. No one gets through a battle. No one gets through a war without a scar. So if you know that the scars are inevitable, the cuts are inevitable, then fighting is part of the process. So the faster you accept that, okay, look, I'm going to have to fight. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to make a decision to turn around. Yes, this may not work out, but I have to figure out a way around. Or I have to be prepared to pivot if I give it everything I have and I realize that it's not for me. Pivoting isn't retreating. Remember that. Right. Pivoting is changing direction. Right. So, and we have to stop accepting the first hit or the first blow to knock us down and allowing it to knock us out. That is the problem. They allow the hits to knock them down and out.
Yep.
You have to be able to get hit and hit back and hit harder, because eventually it won't be a fight anymore. Eventually it changes from a fight to a massacre in the other direction, because because the reason why I love boxing so much, Captain, is because it is a beautiful science. It's an art form.
It is. It really is.
And one of the things my trainer had taught me was, he said, the sexiest thing you could do is slip and hit back.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you don't understand how he used to tease me and say, you know, the girls, you're going to have so many girls if you do this, Jon. And he would say, slip and hit. He's like, you ever catch somebody off guard? A lot of people don't know that the enemy gets caught off guard every single time you rejoice when you lose. Mm-hmm. Imagine a crazy person talking about, like, yeah, bro, you just lost.
Right.
But I learned this. Let's go. But I learned this. Let's go. But I figured this out. Now I know what I don't have to do. But there's no other opportunity. Yes, there is. I just won't have it with you, but I'll have it with somebody else. Perspective.
Yep. Perspective. Yep.
We accept the first one that comes to us. The pain is the perspective that we harbor on. But one of my best friends told me, it's not about what's being done to you. It's about what's being done for you.
Right.
So you take medicine and it's disgusting. It's not what it's doing to you at the moment. When you take it, it's nasty. It's about what's being done for you. It's healing your body so that you can be stronger to move forward. Your failures, your incapabilities, your insecurities, it's not what they're doing to you. The question is, what are they doing for you? What can you take and maximize to get better? A lot of people say, I failed in grad school. I didn't get in. I took that and said, all right, what it's going to do for me is give me the energy, coupled with my mama, to get forward and go after it again. I went after it again. Got in. I didn't have a job. Keep going. I got a job at the place where I thought that I would end. God will take your beginning and take your ending, which you would say, this is where I'm going to end up in my life, and flip it and make it your beginning and say, okay, now what? So now perspective. What are you doing after you get hit? And my thing is, I hit back.
Mm-hmm. I love it, my brother. So check this out. We have about 8 minutes left here on this live, but I think I have 2 more points to get to you with. So we might be on here for about another 20. So are you cool with going for another 8 and then after that doing another live for an additional 10, 15 to close it out the proper way?
Let's do it.
Because I think the people are really enjoying this content we're giving them tonight. So one of the final 2 points I have for you is social media. And Jon, I remember going back to it again, like, you know, graduating from college, going into grad school, I was down and out, you know, just trying to like figure out how to like make a way, and, you know, going to social media while I was sitting in that seat or that chair as a college assistant at Queensboro. All I did all day, bro, was just scroll through Facebook, man, just looking at everybody's life, looking at everybody's statuses, literally from like 9 to 3 when I punched out. And then when I got home when I got to the bus stop to go home, and I was just sitting on the bus, I'd be jamming, I'd be bumping, listening to my music, but I would still be scrolling, my brother. And then from there, I just led me down this rabbit hole within the art of self-comparison and just comparing myself to people, right? But one thing that happened to me was that once I got accepted to that Teach for America program, I became a teacher and I moved to Connecticut. When I started like prepping up that summer to become a teacher, I was like, oh, Kev, this is not what you were doing before. This is real life work, man. You're going to be teaching the kids, inspiring the youth, and also as well as teaching curriculum. There's a lot of work here, brother. You got to actually put in that time. And now, you know me, I'm not one that's opposed to hard work. I love it. But I realized, okay, like what is currently taking away your time right now? Social media. You're going to have to cut it, bro. You're going to have to cut it. So literally, I started teaching that fall, August, September. By November, I made a pact with myself that by November, I was going to cut social media out. That was November of 2017, Jon. And now it is November 2020. And I literally can go 3-4 weeks now without hitting the Facebook app on my phone. But what's so crazy is that Facebook is always like sending me updates and notifications like, hey, look at this, look at this. Because it seems as if now the algorithm is like, man, a lot of people aren't really checking their social media now and for updates, whatever. What. You know what? Let's give them notifications. Let's tell them what Jon McLeod is doing. Let's tell them what Mark Pruden is doing. Let's tell them what this person updated. Correct me if I'm wrong, prior to that, your notifications was what people said towards you. So it's so crazy how the psychology of the ecosystem of the network itself is trying to suck people back in. And I think that all affects our mental health. What are your thoughts on that, brother?
There's a fantastic documentary on Netflix, The Social Dilemma. And they interview directors of of customer engagement at Facebook, at Twitter, and they created algorithms to say, like, okay, this person spent this amount of time looking at this. Let's send him an ad with something related to that, and then follow it up with this video that's related to that. Follow this video. So they keep you, and they even interview the guy that invented the infinity scroll. The ability to go through over and over and over again. And he said it was never designed to do what it's doing now. The one thing I'm a very...
Talk about that.
Say it again?
Talk about that. Expound upon that, please.
It was never... Like, here's the thing is, the wealthiest people in the world map out their time. And when I learned this, I did the same thing. The smartest... My thing is, I try to get up at a good time. And then my first amount of time, I spend with God. Then I look into my business. Okay, what tasks for the business do I have to do today? Even though I prepped it the night before. Okay, did that. Go work out. I get up. I go do my calisthenics. Regardless if I'm in New York or Connecticut, make sure that you have a way to keep a routine. Routine is the key, is what I'm saying here. And you can decide what you want to do with your life. Other people's suggestions or influencers, social media influencers to influence you to keep watching and stay on social media, it's your choice because they're influencing you. They're not commanding you. Perspective. It's influence, not a command. So now, but we get so pulled in because we're influenced by our desires. We have an innate desire to see what people are doing, see what they're doing with their lives, see what they're doing in their professional careers, see how, like, oh, I remember when this person was doing this. Wow, now they're doing that. When did that happen? Then you start looking at, oh, wow, this person took a picture with Magic Johnson. How in the world did they get there? Oh, I just see another picture. He got a job here, or she got a job there. Oh, she does this now? Oh, wow. I remember when, and guess what? 45 minutes go by, and you spent so much time focusing on one person's life. Why? Because of social media. How do we change that now? How do we shift from influence to control? People get on me all the time. Like, I just started posting on social media again a little bit more frequently. In the beginning, like, and there was a certain point where I just shut it off, and all I listen to is audiobooks. I'm a huge... So you're a physical book guy? I'm an audiobook guy. I love audiobooks. I will go through 30 to 50 audiobooks in months. Like, I will cram. I love that. So I took away my social media time and spent it ingesting the knowledge that I wanted to use for my future. The Bible says, I desire you to prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So, okay. God wants me to be successful. I'm going to be wealthy. I have to prepare for that. I'm not going to waste my time looking at somebody else's life because that's not going to make me wealthy. I don't want to be rich. Rich is temporary. Wealth is eternal. I don't want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. To get wealthy, I must spend time learning what the wealthy do. What does Bill Gates do? Okay, he wakes up early. He does this. He does this. He does this. All right, Jeff Bezos does this, does this, does this. Nowhere in any of the most wealthiest people in the world do they ever include social media.
100%. John, I'm going to stop you right there for a quick moment because I see that we have about 40 seconds left. So hold on to that thought, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get right back within this chat in about the next minute and a half, 90 seconds or so. So we're the wise guys. Stay tuned. We're about to cut off in a couple of seconds, and we'll be right back.